Okay, calling in the meeting to order, 7:32. I am going to call out the council members' names and just please give an aye or hi, whatever. Okay, Mario. You're
Hi,
muted.
hi. Hi, hi.
Okay. Okay, Phil. Phil there? Phil, you're muted. You're still muted. I don't know if Barbara can unmute him. All right.
Sorry about that.
That's
Unmute.
It's good.
Hello.
okay. Okay, so you're here. We do this for the record of the transcription of the, tape, the oral tape. So
Hey, quick
Jerry
question.
Lee, can
Yes,
we,
sir.
can you wait?
Here.
Let me do this. Jerry Lee, just need to hear something for the tape. Well, we don't hear you. We see you. I'm going to move on though, unless you can fix that, but I'll just check that you're here. Jerry Lee is here. Donna?
Here.
Where's Donna? Oh, great. Thank you, Donna. And Stephen, I know you're on. I'll just mark you down. Thank you. Okay, and who was having trouble? Jerry Lee, you want to try it again? Unmute yourself. Say anything?
Can't hear.
No. No, maybe you've got the wrong headsets working. Okay, but everybody is accounted for the record. I'm going to move on to have approval of the agenda. It's 7:34. Let's see, are there any changes to the agenda?
No, not for me.
Okay, I would like to propose one. Right now we are, I'm listed as under new business for the 2022 town election. I'd like to propose, while I may have a remark or two to be made under that item, I'd also like to have Barb Matthew added to this business item because she'll also have a few remarks. If you're all in favor of that, just let me know. Just Mario, are you in favor of that change?
That's fine. Yes.
Phil?
Yes, how's my audio?
You're great.
You're fine, Phil. I'm just trying to work with Jerry Lee on getting her, maybe see if you can.
Yeah, I can't hear you, Jerry Lee. Donna, are you okay with it?
Yes, I'm fine with that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Stephen, are you okay with that change?
No objection.
Okay, and Donna, I'm sorry, Jerry Lee, where'd you go? There you are.
Hello.
Could you?
Hey.
Oh,
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
we can hear you. Great.
All
job.
right. Thank you.
Great job.
Sorry about
So,
that.
Jerry Lee, you know, we are proposing a change to the agenda. Did you hear the change?
Yes, I did hear the change and I'm fine with it, Kaki.
All right, thank you. Okay, so without any other changes, I didn't hear anybody else had any changes to the agenda. And I'm giving a pause just in case there is some that Jerry Lee may have missed. Sounds like everybody. Okay, so all in favor, just say aye, please.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. And anybody who
Aye.
is against, okay. And I'm sorry, I actually already got your individual sense, so we're good. Okay, that the agenda is approved with that change under the new business item 2022 town election. Okay, thank you. Now we're going to move to approval of the minutes, and for the record, it's 7:36. Do we have any changes on the minutes? Okay. All in favor? I'm going to go through it. Mario? Yes.
Yes, fine.
Phil?
Phil's okay? Yes.
Jerry Lee?
Yes, fine with minutes.
Donna?
Minutes. Thank you.
Okay, you're muted now, but okay, I heard some of that. And Stephen?
No change.
Thank you very much. So minutes are approved unanimously. Don't have to go further. Okay, we are now at, we're a little early, but 7:37. Do we have any presentations by residents? I see a hand by Elizabeth King, Liz King. And is there somebody else who's got a hand up?
This is Jack Mandel. I have
Okay,
a
Jack.
virtual hand up.
Oh, okay, Jack, can you hold on? Because I believe, Liz, you were holding your hand up, right? Liz King? Okay. Liz, you had your hand up first. Let me go to you, okay? We're going to try to keep this to 3 minutes or less. Thank you.
I'll do my best.
State your
I'm-
name and state the street you're on, okay? For
My
the
name
record.
is Liz King, and my address is partway down the sledding hill, otherwise known as Argyle Avenue. John and I would like to defend that hill. The sledding hill is as much a part of Garrett Park's traditions as the 4th of July parade or a swim team meet or a town council meeting. So what's the issue? Little by little, it's being winnowed away and becoming unsleddable and unsafe. Recently, a mail truck drove up the hill when cones and signs should have been up. The truck slid, it stuck, its driver began backing and forthing, and most of the hill was unsleddable when she left. We've also had cases where the lower half of the hill was totally plowed or the cones were placed so that cars and trucks could turn right onto the sledding hill with no sign. That is totally unsafe for the children. Now, let me make clear. We know that Elizabeth and the maintenance crew have a lot to do, and they do most of it very, very well. And some of the cones are probably moved by residents. Yeah, it's inconvenient for residents to park and walk farther when it snows. I've done it while carrying an infant. I've done it while walking with a cane. But again, it's about traditions. Many Garrett Park traditions require us to give up some parking. Families on the July 4th parade route, near a block party, people near the pool or the town hall may have to park further away during town events. So why shouldn't residents park cars a little farther the couple of times a year that it snows? This would get easier if the town could answer 3 questions, and that is my request of you tonight, for us to be able to get information on what's the area of the sledding hill. Does the town have a policy on this? If it's only 1 block, then that has winnowed away the hill, and the tradition will eventually die. But pre-plowing to just leave a few inches of snow, that's fine. That still accommodates the sledders and the neighbors. Second question is, where and when should the cones and the signs be set? And the third is anyone besides Elizabeth and the town crew allowed to move them from that location? I have asked the town office twice for answers. John and I hope that the town will find answers for these questions so that the town crew and the residents can help preserve the sledding hill. Garrett Park's always been a town that's cared about neighbors and about traditions. We care about kids. Are we still a town that does those things? Thank you in advance for your help.
Thank you, Liz. We won't go into a discussion, but I do appreciate the concerns, the points, the questions, and the sentiment. So we'll take that back to the town office, make sure, and we'll get back to you on that, okay?
Just want to, Kathy, I want to reiterate what you just said. I agree with Elizabeth. I appreciate your comments, and it doesn't fall on deaf ears from my point of view.
And I just wanted to say thank you. I was muted when I said thanks.
Okay, appreciate that. Let's see, Jack, you were next.
All righty. Okay to do it without, otherwise I'm gonna have to go clean up my hair and put gel
No,
on
no,
and
no.
everything.
Yeah, just talk. We know what you look like. You're a good-looking guy. Just speak, Jack. It's good.
I haven't
Thank you.
even washed my face today. so,
I was just hoping Mario would say that, so that was the only reason why.
yeah, go for it. Name
so-
and street,
so-
please.
Thank you for reminding me. Jack Mandel, Rokeby Avenue. So I'm wondering if the town might consider allowing groups, permitting groups, and I speak from as a member of the Garrett Park Men's Book Club, might allow groups like the Garrett Park Book Club and others like it to be able to meet at town hall, especially now during winter months, still because of COVID. We certainly we began to meet at other people's homes a few months ago, but then of course the variants reared their ugly heads. And so everybody is a little afraid of meeting, we have about 10 to 12 people who meet. In a space like town hall would allow that because it has that space. And I know that there are lots of specifics that would need to be hammered out, but like what qualifies. So I'm speaking from a place of thinking about organizations that are primarily made up of members who live in Garrett Park and or I guess the estates. In our case, we have probably 12 of our 14 people live in Garrett Park and the estates, is ongoing. So we do meet on a monthly basis and really is for community and social purposes. It's not to celebrate a birthday. It's not to, it's not a musical event. Nobody's making money on it. And it's simply trying to avail ourselves of town hall because it does seem to be so underutilized now, and understandably, but it is a space that might be put to good use if in fact we had that opportunity. So I'm throwing it out to the council and see what you have to say, or see what you have to say later. Thank you.
Okay, Jack, thank you. Can I ask a question, Jack? Were you raising this as a request because of the COVID and the variants, COVID and COVID variants?
Yes, we actually met.
Not a long term, it's just.
That's right. We met for a year on Zoom, and it was, it was fine. It was nice, and we could do that. But we certainly felt when we got together again that there was absolutely a much better experience meeting with one another in person. And really, this is just dealing with COVID, especially dealing with COVID during months when we really can't be outside to meet.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't want to get into a discussion. I just wanted to get some clarification. Was there something about cost? I mean, were you willing to pay for it, or for the use of the town hall, or did I miss that? I don't know what.
Well, so our hope is, what I'm asking for is that we don't have to pay for it, that we could be subsumed, similar to like if the Citizens Association or the Women's Club sponsored. I could go to them and probably ask them to sponsor us. Whether that would work or not, I don't know exactly how that works, but I thought I would come directly to town council first.
Okay, so it's sort of a short term as far as dealing with COVID and needing the square footage space among members of a continuing kind of social club where there's no, fundraising or promoting of businesses, and looking to be exempt from having to pay a rental fee for the town hall. Is that right? Is that what I understood?
You got it, yes.
Okay. Unless anybody else has a clarifying question, I'd like to just go ahead and move on. We will get back to you on that, Jack. We'll talk among the staff and see.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Yep,
Okay,
thanks.
great.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Okay. It is 7:46. And unless there's another presentation by residents, I'm sorry if I missed anybody. Just flash some hands or something. Don't see anything happening on the Zoom. We are going to move to new business. And first item is on the 2022 town election, which everybody knows occurs the first Monday of May. And in the even years, it's 2 council member seats and the mayor that are up for re-election or election. And on the odd years, it's 3 council members. So this year we have 2 council seats and we have the mayor position or seat. Anyway, the point being here is we we appointed judges, election judges last year. Is that right, Barb? Are you with me there? You
Yes,
got
that is correct.
Okay, so we're in the process right now of verifying, hoping that they're still interested in serving, whether or not we'll need that. I now punt over to Barb, who actually can probably give you better context of why this is all coming up now.
Sure. I'm at the point where I need to start putting together the plan for the 2022 election. Really just wanting to get a sense from the council members about whether or not we do vote by mail like we've done the past 2 elections. If we go in that direction, there will be a resolution that will need to come before you at your February meeting. So I was just really looking for some input and guidance from the council this evening.
Bill, I personally think it's worked out very well. I think
Okay.
it's left us with, it's been easier to figure out who's won, if you will, without having to do all sorts of counting. It takes it out of the hands of some of the town officials who've had to work on it. I am in favor of continuing as we have for the last 2 elections.
Okay.
May I ask a question, Barb? Are we not on a declaration of a health emergency by the state?
We are currently, yes.
Okay, and that's what put us in this similar situation 2 years ago, and yeah, I guess it was 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, and it
Okay.
doesn't seem like it's ever ending, so.
So
Yes,
the governor has issued a proclamation of a state of emergency for Maryland, with allowing implementation of emergency procedures. I don't remember the rest, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Any other thoughts from anyone?
This is Jerry Lee. I just wanted to double check. So this involves us procuring an election firm to manage the process for us, do it by mail, and by mail, we didn't have a drop box. Is that right? We just did the mail last year. So the same plan that we adopted last year would be put in front of us to adopt again for this year. Is that what you're proposing, Barb?
Yes, that is correct, Jerry Lee. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I just wanted to
wait.
get that. Oh, it sounds like Kaki has a clarification.
We're sorry.
I know Barb wasn't here, but we didn't have an election last
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, it would be the same plan that was envisioned for your
Actually, we did. We
2020.
have an election every year.
It was
year.
actually
It was
canceled.
uncontested, so we didn't have
Right.
to hold it.
Oh, okay. But we had to do a plan, and we prepared to hire the group. So yes, the same plan that we adopted
But
Correct.
right,
would. And that's another clarification to make. Are we adopting that provision about uncontested elections? That would be a feature we need to consider.
I
I
thought that
agree
was
that-
in the charter.
Yeah, it would probably be good to kind of set that forth up front. Jerry Lee, I agree with you, just to have that clear. But yes, I had spoken to Andrea about the company that we used in 2020 and that we envisioned using in 2021. She was very satisfied with the work they did. So I would propose that we work with them again in 2022.
And again, we're really not asking to have a vote or anything. We just wanted to get a sense of the council, because depending on which way you go, we bring the procedures forward in February so that we ensure we're following the ordinance, which is what, 60 days, Barb, for notice
I believe that's correct.
to the residents of the procedure. So, it all becomes more firm which way you all go based on the February council meeting. So we're just trying to get a sense which way you're going to want to go. Don't have to vote on anything right now. We're just getting a sense. Yes, Donna?
Yes, quick question. Were there any, not necessarily abnormalities or cons to the election, the way it was held 2 years ago,
I don't think so.
that I would not be aware of?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of and not that Andrea shared. She seemed very pleased with the way that everything went. And I believe got some good feedback from residents as well.
I think she did. I think council thought it went well, and I did. not doing it by mail-in and doing it rather in person, and then all the counting of the ballots and the verification, that takes an exorbitant amount of time by, the election judges actually who do all the counting, as well as just the volunteers who sit to hand out the ballots and so forth. It's a real labor intensive process without going through this vendor service. Okay.
Thank you for the answer.
I think we're good, Kathy. There's no objection. I think we sound like we're all on the same page on this. I think we can proceed.
Sounds pretty good.
Right. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the feedback.
No, thank you, everybody. I'm doing a real quick, I'm sorry, give me 1 second here. Okay, I'm back. Well, I was hoping to get an email, but I haven't gotten it. It is 7:53, and I put under new business the topic of learner enterprises and their plan to fence off the perimeter of the ring road that goes around the old White Flint Mall. And in so doing, it would be blocking access of the path, which is a shared use path with pedestrians and bicycles through the White Flint Park, where there are the playgrounds, the tennis courts, and so forth, that goes up to meet the ring road. And then there is actually still a path, a marked path that takes you further up to White Flint Plaza. And because there had been so much talk among town residents as well as Garrett Park Estates and White Flint Park citizens, we were able to reach out to the county to talk with them about their plans. Jack Mandel and I were on the call. We had plans for a couple other residents, but they weren't able to make it. We did also have the town attorney under contract to sit on the call with us and discuss that with them. I think, I'm not sure how much, if I gave you any update on that, but County Council Member Evan Glass and his legislative assistant were extremely interested to hear about this, equally concerned, and said they would look into it. We know they have. We gave them some ideas of things. They got all the paperwork, the paper trail. And since then, Delegate Al Carr from the state of Maryland called me and we had a talk. He let me know that he was also in conversation with the county, and there's no definitive action yet, but the path or direction that they are taking is to look at the possible use of a use license agreement from the county with Lerner, which would include indemnification of any provisions of lawsuits or anything that where the Lerner enterprises would have to be on the defense. The county would take that. They would be the front to take any kind of action for using and maintaining and protecting that path. So that's all we know at the time. I don't know if Jack, if you're still on, if you want to add anything. I'm giving you some leeway here on this agenda, even though you're not listed, but you were there with me. So.
No, Kaki, you said what I know as well. So back to you.
And I said it right. Is that right? Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So we're waiting to hear back because this is a big item of concern and, just mobility, walkability, equality, economic status, all of that. this runs on so many levels that we are told the county council are very, very interested in and in protecting. So I think we're going to get something out of this that'll be a win-win for everybody. Gosh, my hope anyway. That's all I wanted. Go
Jackie,
ahead.
real quickly, we think there was a meeting today with Al Carr and his park and planning real estate point of contact to work out, to look at some of these issues on use license.
Right.
And hopefully they'll get back to you and or me
Right.
in the next couple of days.
And that's I had pinged him earlier today, and I had just checked my email to see if I'd gotten anything. And that's when I said I didn't get the email I was hoping to get. So we'll keep our eyes open for that. He's really good about staying in touch. So, and we definitely appreciate Evan Glass's concern as well, and his action on this. Okay, I think that gets us right to the town updates, and I'm going to make a note for the record. It is 7:58, and Donna, you're up first on American Rescue Plan, if you would.
Thank you, Mayor Kaki. Yes, first of all, thank you to the large group of, can everyone hear me okay? Kaki, you had it up.
Breaking up a bit. I don't know why.
Oh, sorry. As I was saying, thank you to all the volunteers who voiced their willingness to be part of the Garrett Park Recovery Funds Task Force. It was a very impressive turnout, and for that I thank you all. And we have sent out notices to the group that will be part of the task force. Unfortunately, we couldn't take everyone because it was such a large group. But again, thank you everyone for just putting yourselves out there and your time and your expertise. Last week, the final goal for the funds came out from Treasury, giving final details and explanation of what the uses of the funds would be for, which we'll be using. And also next week I'll be meeting with the town lawyer to discuss and review those rules and regulations. A meeting with the volunteers for the task force will be upcoming in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, that's great news. Very great news. And I second the thanks that Donna offered to all those who volunteered their names, knowing that they were going to be volunteering their time. So I appreciate everybody who put their name in the hat. Thank you for leading this, Donna. We look forward to hearing more.
My pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, Kathy, I had my hand up. I know it's hard to
Oh,
see.
I missed it. So
My
sorry.
virtual hand. I just wanted to check, with all of the conversations we've been having about diversity and inclusion, it might be worth just mentioning, Donna, what criteria the town used to determine who would be on the committee, and are we, to make sure we're getting a diversity of perspectives. And then I also wondered, will there be public notice before the committee meets, and are these open meetings?
Thank you. Those are great questions, Jerry Lee. I appreciate it. In consideration for who would be on the task force, we made sure it was a mix of genders, individuals who had a lot of experience to less experience, as well as to new, citizens of Garrett Park and people who've been here for years. So we tried to get an even approach across the board, like I said, to be as even in all aspects as possible. I think we did a pretty good job with that, actually, I have to say. As for the question about the open meetings, that's actually a really good one, and I don't have an answer for you right now, but I will make sure to get what you want as soon as I can. I guess refer to the lawyer and Barb as to what the rules and regs are about that.
We'll get back to you.
I don't
on
want to
that.
speak out of turn.
Yeah.
Thanks, Donna. I appreciate the clarification.
Anytime.
Okay. Phil, do you have any update on stormwater? I know there's sort of been hanging around, but have you got anything?
No, not yet.
You haven't seen anything from the civil engineer about the latest end of Rokeby stuff?
Not a word.
Okay. All right, Mario, would you like to give any update on archives?
Sure. Let's give you a quick update on what Claire and her team have been working on. Claire McDonald. They've been focusing mostly on road projects, which is interesting. So they've been doing a lot of stuff and doing history and archiving and reorganizing stuff on on all the materials we have on the history of our roads and different projects, road maintenance projects and construction projects. I wish we had that, Phil, for all that time with the other work that we're working on with the stormwater. But it is good to have all that, and she's pulling a lot together. Also, it's kind of cool is she's been organizing and collecting some images from former mayors. So get ready, Kaki, for your future expose down the road. So that's kind of cool. So Les Henning, who former resident, has been sent a lot of photographs over to her. So she's been cataloging a lot of that. So as we always say, if you haven't been over to our archives, try to schedule some time with Claire. It's not open. It's open, but based on her availability to give a tour. And it's a wonderful, wonderful part of our town.
That's great. I'm really excited to see what she gets on the history of the roads.
Yeah.
That may be really neat to see. Okay, Jerry Lee, do you have something you want to add about the Strathmore redevelopment?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, as Kaki put out on the listserv, the hearing with the county zoning and hearing examiner was postponed from December 27th to January 31st through February 2nd. And since the original hearing was only for December 27th, one day, I did follow up with his administrative staff to get clarification. The hearing is scheduled for all 3 days. And what she indicated is that the pre-hearing exhibits indicate that more time than 1 day may be needed. And so they have scheduled it for 3 days in case all 3 days are needed. They will go as long as necessary. Kaki, I'll coordinate with you offline about coverage. I am able to attend. I've set aside time. Given the complexities of this and the fact that the planning board did acknowledge the town of Garrett Park's recommendations in its referral letter, I do think we have some potential opportunities to influence this development and the design there and how it proceeds. But I would like to get a sense of the council if the town were to want to perhaps procure some outside expertise to advise us about how we approach future hearing and design work for this. Would the council be comfortable with the town perhaps either using the professional services line item or the contingency with notice, of course, to quickly procure such outside expertise within the procurement threshold? The thought being that this has been sort of up and down process, and it is quite complex. And I just want to make sure that we're not limiting ourselves based on using only volunteers to manage the process.
Were you referring to maybe some legal expertise?
Exactly. Perhaps some legal expertise, or particularly legal expertise, not necessarily town related, municipal, but somebody very familiar with development issues and shepherding projects through the development review process and the zoning process. Also, potentially transportation issues once the design and configuration discussions start about the placement of the light, etc. I'm not suggesting that we definitely need to do this. I just want us to be prepared, to be flexible if we decide we need it.
Sure, when we get there, I think we certainly have the money, and we certainly have money in contingency. So I think when we get to a point where we may need to do that, I think it's worth raising. I mean, I know you're asking the council, but I'm just letting you know how the budget process actually works. We have up to half of what's in contingency that can be moved at one time. at any one time, half of the contingency with a 3-day notice. So, you know, there's ways to do that, just so all council members know it's not a legitimate request. Sure.
Yeah, that's good to hear, Kaki. And I think that's a really good idea, Jerry Lee. And it's good. I know we have the money and it's good to have it. I don't think we're talking about exhausting a lot of funds, but I think if I'm reading you right, it's better to be proactive on this and look back and go, we shoulda, coulda, woulda, and had some extra help, right? And better to have it out in front, and maybe we can help move the needle one way or the other and prepare ourselves for this or future projects. So I do agree with you, Jerry Lee. If we can, I don't know the timing on it, but certainly sounds like it's something that's economically feasible, Kaki, and Jerry Lee, sounds like it's a good idea. So I would
Yeah,
support
and
this.
while we are working with Ron Bolt, the contracted town attorney, on the White Flint Plaza access, I know from conversations, or however you want to talk about it, communications with Garrett Park Estates and White Flint Park, that, you know, they don't have the means, resources as our town does, to be able to get a hold of or contract with other individuals, professionals to help. So I was actually thinking about this with the Strathmore redevelopment, if that may come to be where we also put some resources. So actually, like mine's, Jerry Lee. Yeah, I was thinking that. So possible.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want
Even
to
though
make sure we don't have any particular
Right.
opposition amongst the council. Sense of council is what I'm looking for. And agreed, Mario, I don't think the town would want to sink a lot of money into something like this. But be prepared, like, you know, if we think a little help will help us to achieve, you know, the objectives we think are possible.
I personally think it's a great idea. We only really have one shot at this, because once they set this in stone by doing that vote, you know, we're going to be extremely limited. So I think we need to think sooner rather than later of what we might be able to do and what help we might need to do it. And I think bringing in somebody who does this type of work for a living would be a great idea. Hopefully with some advice, or maybe even that person talking to some contacts they may know, could help us bolster our case to get some of the things we might be looking for, and hopefully, you know, deal with some of this traffic, which I think is going to be a real problem. But anyway, I'm totally in favor of it.
I third it, I guess. In that case, I agree as well, and especially in light of what Kaki said about the resources that surrounding municipalities and neighborhoods have or don't have, as a collective voice is better heard and appreciated. I think that that totally makes sense. Expert advice and feedback. Absolutely.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Phil. I don't know if Stephen's still on, but barring
Here.
any objections from Stephen, I should give it back to Kaki. Stephen, anything else?
Yeah, I'm fine with it too. I think it's a good idea just to have that as a contingency, possibly from the contingency. And then if there's a way that it might make sense to do that to influence like the long-term solution of what's going to happen down there, because it's whatever gets built down there is going to be around for decades. So like Mario said, rather be prepared versus have concerns we should have done something else. So I think it's a good idea.
Okay, great. And I was thinking, Barb, I'll follow up with you after, because I know with some of your experience at other municipalities, you might have some good connections for us to look into.
Yeah, I'm already mentally going through names of land use attorneys that I think might be able to help us out.
Great, great. That's what I was hoping. Okay. Thank you very much, Kaki. That's all I have on that topic.
Okay, great. Let's see, we have the Waverly Oxford sidewalks. Phil, were you able to catch up on anything? Have you got anything to
Yeah.
offer?
So the good news on this is that, you know, Clark Azar put together a bid package. The town liked it. We put it out, and we've got a bid package out there. You can find all that information on the town's website under RFPs. And the responses are due back February 1st. So hopefully we'll get some decent responses and won't have to spend a lot of money, especially given that things are getting expensive these days. And we might get some movement on getting several of these projects done. I will say that they incorporate the two that we're talking about right now will be the one that goes on Oxford up to the school, the last piece, if you will, of the SRTS that would go from Montrose to Kenilworth. And then the other one is Waverly, which would take us down to the intersect with the last piece of the Waverly sidewalk, which would be, it would go from Solomon's house, or essentially from near the Kenilworth Triangle all the way down to intersect Montrose again. They're coming across. We have one piece left to look at a little bit further, but it's going to require some more engineering, because it's the piece that runs basically to Penn Place, and that one is going to need some type of we need to look at some type of grading, erosion control, a few things there. It's not the most ideal spot to rehab a sidewalk, and the sidewalk, as we all know, has been heaving over a period of time. So that one's going to require a little more work. But the good news is 2 out of the 3 of those are out for bid right now. So we shall see what happens.
That's wonderful. Did you get a sense of how long that project or these 2 sidewalks in this current bid will take? Did you pick up on how many days work there is?
I did, but I forgot. But the other thing we have to keep in mind is with the winter coming on, I don't think there's a lot we're going to be able to do. We're going to be we make it hamstrung until the spring at this point.
Okay.
But I don't think they're going to take particularly long.
No, that was what I heard from Clark Azar. They thought this could be done fairly quickly, you know. Okay, that's great news. Now you said bids are due
February 1st.
February 1st?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. All right. Then we have Arboretum Committee. Jerry Lee?
Thank you, Kaki. A couple of quick things. There was an issue over the holidays about a tree removal proposal from WSSC. And I think the committee coordinated with the town office. Elizabeth jumped right on that. So good coordination there, but it did remind the committee that they need to continue to work both inside the committee and with the town office about clarifying the comprehensive arboretum plan language, which does talk about PEPCO utility coordination, but not so clear about WSSC utility coordination. So they'll probably, the committee will take that up at the January meeting. The town arborist is working with Elizabeth and Barbara on the RFPs for pruning and removals in town, and also for Strathmore Avenue, which will be a really big job because it's some would say it's been overdue, that work. Also, the committee, Jim Sullivan has been working. Oh, wait a minute, it's not Jim Sullivan, I apologize, it's Adam, has been working with the town office on development of an RFP to undertake a pilot program for removing invasives. And so the plan is to attempt that for a small area, and if it's successful, then to try it out elsewhere with town trees around town. So looking forward to our next meeting the 3rd week of January.
Okay, great. Jerry Lee, that reminds me, as far as all the chartered town committees go and their memberships and terms, we know things are expiring. Some memberships, some members' terms are expiring. So we will be putting out a call for volunteers for some of those committees. Right
Yes,
now,
I think that's a good idea to put out a call for volunteers. Thank you for remembering that, Kaki.
Yeah, so it's not just for Arboretum, it's also for the Historic Preservation Committee. There's term limits that are up, and we obviously still have vacancies on the archives. And even the Land Use Committee has terms that have expired. So look for a call for volunteers. I say that to all residents who might be hearing that, and to the Bugle editor. And we need to get some new volunteers on our town committees. Okay. Barb, I think that puts us to you. It's 8:17. I'm sorry, I just moved something out of my way here. Sorry, let me get back to that.
Can I make a quick announcement on something for a sec?
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Phil.
Just a real quick FYI. So the swimming pool association has begun the renovation of the bathhouse. So you're going to see some dumpsters sitting out there. One will be there temporarily as they break up the old floor to replace it. That's going to be for holding concrete. The other one will be for general construction debris. So be a little careful coming around Keswick on to Cambria. But I just wanted to say that it's underway. So it's a good thing. Plans are trying to get everything done well before opening. So should look good.
Thank you. Thanks for reminding me, Phil. I had a question about that. Did you say that the swimming pool parking lot might be used for staging for some of this construction? Did you mention that before, last month?
Yep.
So I've got some concerns because I've seen at least 1 or 2 or 3 vehicles that are parked there, indefinitely, all the time. I even encountered one person who was sleeping in the van, and this must have been closer to 10:30, 11 o'clock at night when my husband Dennis and I took a walk. We do our sometimes late night walks, and there was somebody there sleeping in the van. Do we, I know we have provisions in the town charter, about people, about vagabonds and whatever other terms you want to use, not allowed. I don't know what, is there any notice that you're going to put up on the swimming pool parking lot, or do you need the town to do something to clear the parking lot so that it's used for what you want?
A good idea if they could put up some cones so that we didn't have to worry about having to come clear out at some point, because we'll eventually be getting construction materials in. So I think it might be a good idea if they could put up some cones. Obviously, if there's, I parked one of my cars down there during the snow because make it easier for folks to plow.
Could have
So
been.
something like that I would see is fine. But yes, we've noticed, I personally have noticed that there's been several cars that have been parked there very long term. And I think it would be a good idea if, yes, we could get somebody from the town to maybe cone that off, and we could put out a general notice that said it's no longer available unless there's a snow emergency or some obviously equivalent type of incident.
Okay, that makes sense. And we can look into getting the county to come and pick up they pick up, I believe, cars around town that have expired plates. Do they pick them up if I guess they don't have to be expired plates. Is that right? If they're just sort of what we think might be abandoned?
Yes, that would be true. Now, Elizabeth has helped me a bunch on that. So she'll probably have the best, but she's aware of the fact that there's been some permanent parking down there, if you will. There's some people who park their cars overnight, but there's others who do not.
Okay. All right. We'll check into that. Maybe if you don't mind, you could draft a note. And by all means, you can put it out yourself on the GPML. You have access to that. You could put it on the forum too, but you definitely can put it on the GPML as a notice.
Yeah, I can put it up on both. I'll run it by you and Barb just before I launch anything to make sure you don't make any mistakes. But yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, that's great. All right.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay,
Thanks,
now
Lisa.
I'm sure. And now 8:22. Barb, you want to give us an update?
Sure, thank you very much. As far as the December financial report, all the revenues, operational and capital budgets are in the approximate range of our expected levels. As I noted, the December report does reflect the some of the community contributions that we will be giving to our trash hauler staff. So I want to thank the community for their generosity. Your January report will also show contributions that have been made by the community. In terms of projects, our FY 2022 audit was completed and all the required filings have been made with the state. As the mayor noted, and I think all of you are certainly aware, the barricades and the detour signage in front of Penn Place were removed on New Year's Eve. Certainly we got our first dose of winter weather. I haven't seen much of that for a while, so I want to express my appreciation to the town maintenance staff for the excellent work that they did in plowing the streets and also cleaning up some of the tree damage we had. The project at Town Hall where we removed some trees and installed a new fence was also completed during the month of December. Just a couple other items that weren't noted in the report that have come up. I did participate in a call this morning that the county sponsored for municipal officials to talk about the distribution of rapid COVID testing kits. The county has basically identified a vendor and will be purchasing 2 million COVID rapid tests. Specifically, they're going to be the iHealth tests that some of you may have heard of. Each of those tests contains 2 tests, and they will be offering county residents the opportunity to get a total of 2 boxes, which is a total of 4 tests. They have started a library-based distribution at 19 county-operated sites, and their goal is to basically make sure that there's a mixture of late morning, early afternoon locations, as well as afternoon and early evening locations. And they'll be operating some sites 6 days per week. At least there'll be 6 sites operating. So the ones that are closer to us would be the Chevy Chase Library. They will be distributing test kits Monday through Saturday from 11 to 2. The Kensington Park Library distribution will be from Monday through Thursday, 4 to 7, as well as Friday to Saturday, 2 to 5. And I will go out and post something on GPML with a link to the various sites so that residents may work closer to some place that is also distributing test kits. I did want to stress that for anyone to get a kit, they actually have to be physically in line. So someone can't just get in line and say they're part of a household of 4 and walk away with 8 test kits. So like I say, I will post something tomorrow so that the residents know where they can do that. Right now, it looks as if their goal is to sort of try to push everything out as much as possible through the end of February. Because obviously that's at least the current thinking about what we're going to see in terms of the current variant. There will likely be additional site and locations added. They are working with fire and rescue to take some of their personnel who are on light duty and trying to find some larger distribution sites. Those will certainly not be at fire and rescue locations. Those are actually not open to the public. So just wanted to share that with everyone. Also wanted to note, sort of along the same front of COVID, there will be a county council meeting tomorrow. They will be sitting as the Board of Health, and they will be considering a resolution regarding imposing vaccination requirements to enter bars, restaurants, fitness centers, and other covered establishments. This would be, as proposed, a phased-in approach in terms of the number of vaccine doses that someone would have to have. So it's very much kind of predicated on a ramping up schedule. We will be getting information after the county council meeting tomorrow. And certainly if that resolution is enacted, I'll post some information on GPML so that residents know that there are vaccination requirements that are being imposed for certain locations. And lastly, all of you filled out a doodle poll for me. We are still trying to schedule the FY 2023 budget retreat. Unfortunately, the week of January 24th, we just couldn't find a date that aligned with all of your busy schedules. So I will be sending out another poll looking at dates for the week of the 31st. If I could just ask of you individually, if you have certain days in that week that are just not workable for you, if you could maybe either shoot me a text or shoot me an email. That way I'm not even circulating dates that don't work for one of you. That would probably help narrow the options a little bit. So I think, Mayor, that's all that I have this evening to report. Certainly would be happy to answer any questions.
Barb, I had one comment / question. First, thank you very much for putting a note out on the listserv reminding residents and property owners to shovel their sidewalks when it snows. I think that is a really helpful reminder. And I think it might be worth the town considering beginning to send letters to individual homeowners, property owners at some point, because it does seem anecdotally that for particularly the new sidewalks, that a number of property owners are perhaps just not really familiar with this requirement.
Okay, thank you for that.
You can always put a note on the doorway. We don't have to send an email. Thank you. I have a couple questions, Barb.
Sure.
One, you mentioned the outside dining, and thank you for ensuring that those tents and the barriers got picked up. I'm sort of punting from you over to Phil. Phil, have you got a task force started yet? Because people are asking me about any alternatives where there could be some outside dining experience without being on the road. Have you put together a task force, and would you do that?
Yes, I have not, but I will be now the holidays over yet.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. Second thing I wanted to let people know is as the budget retreat gets underway, Barb and I will be preparing some justification for a couple positions. There's been some change in personnel, contracted personnel, and also what we consider a vital need for another position, town position. But we will be doing that during the retreat and most likely even going into a closed session. But I'm just giving you a heads up about that, not to really discuss it here. Just wanted you to know. Thirdly, I wanted to bring attention to council, but also all residents. I very much would like to have a budget work group meeting. And I mean work group of volunteers, of residents. If there's a council member that would like to sit on that, that's also something I could consider. As you know, the mayor and the town manager's role is to put together a budget for review and discussion and final approval by council. I'm not putting this to focus on me, but there's an awful lot going on in town right now. And there's a lot going on in my life. And I don't really have the bandwidth. So I would very much, and I've reached out to Ken. I don't know if Ken is still on, Ken Schwartz. I've asked him last fall if he'd still be willing to be on a group with me. I worked with Ken, I may have mentioned this before, many years ago on a finance committee that Peter Benjamin had put together. And I thought it was a really productive effort, and we had a really good outcome. So I'm looking again, maybe Ken will be on it, but I'm looking for some other residents who might like to get involved, kind of see how the budget is created. I mean, from the actual numbers, the raw numbers, and specifically somebody with some Excel skill. I have excellent Excel skill, and so does Barb, but this is about time and my focus. And Barb has plenty on her plate to do. And I thought it would be also a great learning experience for some residents to really kind of get involved and see how this goes. So I encourage you all to attend, keep your ears open for when we have this budget retreat. Attend that just to see that, how that process works. And then maybe to be able to help me and Barb on getting the actual numbers put together. And, you know, we do some modeling and things like that. And there's the constant yield that also has to be considered and, you know, trending and stuff like that. So it would be great if I could get a few residents who would like just to be involved, maybe somebody that has some really good Excel skill. And I also keep that invitation open to Ken as well. I know his experience is helpful. So I'm just setting that out. And I'll try to remind people later on when I put the call out for volunteers for the other actual town chartered committees, memberships. I think I took up a lot of time here. Is there anything anybody else wants to say before we close the meeting? Okay, that's wonderful. It is 8:33 and this meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening.
Have a good night.
evening.